Hello, this is Mónica Stocker, and I'm waiting for my friend Craig Whelan. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know, because I've been calling him and I don't know where he is. But today we're talking about connectors. Connectors is a very popular topic. Now, everybody likes to talk about connectors. And today we decided to talk about connectors of contrast. So I want to remind you that I'm Mónica Stocker, and I'm the author of, you'll see now, Blog del Inglés is the new blog, because I have an older blog that is called Blog para Aprender Inglés. And this is the new page. And my friend Craig is the author or co-author of mansioninglés.com and also inglespodcast.com. Okay, so let's start talking about connectors. If you have any questions, please write them down and I'll try to answer, okay? So here I have only Olga looking at me. I don't know who else. And if Craig comes later, he can just jump in. If he's watching, if he now remembers suddenly that he had an appointment, well, he can just jump in. So let's go to the first connector. We're going to talk about connector. I said connectors of contrast. First of all, what is a connector? A connector is a word that it is used to link two parts of a sentence. So in Spanish, we call it conjunción. So all these words like however, nonetheless, in spite of, although, though, okay, all these words are connectors. Hello, Maria. Okay, hello, Monse. Nice to see you. Look, I'm alone. I don't know what happened to Craig. He's going to say he's very sorry, because I think it's very strange for a British person to do this. I think he had a problem, so that's why he's not here. So but I'm going to continue talking anyway. It's going to be shorter, but well, we're going to check all the connectors. Okay, the connectors of contrast, because there are many different types of connectors. So the first one we have here is however. However, so the meaning in Spanish, it's a very good idea to check the meaning in Spanish, because it will give you an idea of how to use them. Because the first thing, the first thing is to know exactly the meaning. Okay. Yes, Joshua, I'm alone. And yes, Maria, Craig is living in Valencia. I don't know what happened to him. He suddenly disappeared. I hope he comes in and he can join us, because he can also give very good feedback and very good information about this topic. Okay, so, sin embargo, let's see an example. I'm going to check an example of however. For example, however is to indicate a contrast or contradiction. So, for example, he is very rich. However, he isn't happy. Another example. I respect your ideas. However, we do not share the same values. Okay, you can think of more examples. Now, if you have any questions about this, just write them down and I'll try to answer. Now, we have here two different connectors here. The problem is that usually all these connectors have very similar meanings. So what you have to do is to try to see the context where you use them. And in Spanish, sometimes it can be confusing, because however is translated as sin embargo. Nevertheless is also sin embargo. And also notwithstanding, or another is nonetheless, also sin embargo. So you have to check the use in context in the sentence and see and check the examples. In the case of nevertheless, we can translate it also as a pesar de, okay, a pesar de, and I'll give you one example. So it is nevertheless is used to say something which contrasts with what you have just said. No? So for example, they were very disappointed with his attitude. Nevertheless, they kept encouraging him. Okay, so what is the difference between notwithstanding and nevertheless? Notwithstanding means without being prevented or opposed by something. For example, notwithstanding the shortness of their limbs, they run very fast. Okay? Limbs, maybe you don't know the meaning of limbs. Limbs es miembros, okay, del cuerpo, okay, limbs. So let's see nevertheless or nonetheless. Nonetheless or nevertheless means in spite of what you just have said, okay? So, for example, it was predictable, but nevertheless, a funny story. Okay, let's go to the next one, but. This is very easy because in Spanish, it's the same meaning in the same context. We use it almost the same. There are no difference with Spanish here. So if somebody could write an example for me, maybe we can read it. Anybody daring to write an example for me? Well, let's see. No, nobody wants to write an example. Let's see an example of but. It's very easy. It is used to add a statement which is different from what you have just said. For example, he is a nice person, but he doesn't have any friends. That's not very common, no? If you're a nice person, you usually have many friends or a few friends, okay? So he's a nice person, but he doesn't have any friends. It's very easy to do this. Now, the next one is not so simple. This one is funny because most people think of yet, the meaning of yet as aún, todavía. But sometimes you're going to find yet at the beginning of a sentence. When you see yet at the beginning of a sentence, the meaning is different. The meaning is sin embargo o pero. So it's a connector, okay? In the other case, you usually will see it at the end of the sentence. For example, she hasn't come yet. Ella no ha venido todavía. But if you see it at the beginning, then the meaning is, I repeat, sin embargo. Let's see an example. For example, I was tired, yet somehow I managed to finish the report on time. Okay, here you see the example here, that yet is not at the end of the sentence, but in the middle. In this case, it's in the middle. Also possible that the meaning is sin embargo. Let me see if there's anybody. Okay, Joshua, very good. He's at home, but he's working. Let me see here. Let me see this example, Joshua. He's at home, but he's working there. No, whoa. There has to be some contrast. We could say he's at home, but he's not working there. That would be a contrast. I don't see the contrast in the positive sense. In the negative sense, yes. Okay, so any other examples? If you want to write examples, I'll just show them and we can check whether it's correct or not. Okay, so this would be correct if we say he's at home, but he's not working at home, for example. Now that we all have to work from home, it could be possible to say that, okay? Okay, Joshua, so that you understood that. Let's go to, yeah, okay, yet we were, I remember, well, again, yet is a conjunction that means nevertheless or however when it's at the middle or at the beginning of a sentence. Okay, so it changes the meaning. Now we have an expression that is called, this is a very common expression. It is very good for writing essays. So whoever has a Cambridge examination can use this kind of conjunction or connector. And you have two ways of saying this. On one hand, por un lado, and on the other hand, por otro lado. Okay? If you translate them, it's much easier to understand the meaning. So the use of on the other hand is to introduce a second, the second of two contrasting points or facts or other ways of looking at the things. So let's see an example. Well, all right, it's a very expensive electric car, but on the other hand, eventually you will save money on fuel. Okay? On the other hand, por otro lado, sooner or later, eventually means sooner or later, you will save money on fuel. Ahorrarás dinero en combustible. Okay? So let's see another one. So we have about 12. Let me see if I have any question here. Okay, here we have, Siham says, it's raining, but she will go for a run anyway. Perfect example. Okay, but it's very easy. Okay, very easy to use because it's exactly the same in Spanish. No, no problem with that. Okay, this is an example that is perfect. Okay, let's go back to the banners, and we were talking about. I was going to show you another one. Even so, aún así. Okay, what is exactly the meaning of this? Even so. It means still being the case. Aún así. Okay, still being the case. So, for example, I say to a small child, I know that you don't like meat or vegetables, because usually they hate vegetables. Children hate vegetables, so I can say it with vegetables. I know that you don't like vegetables, but even so, you must eat vegetables because it's good for your health, okay? Well, kids don't understand this reason, but you can see the use of even so. Even so here, in this case, means aún así, okay? Even so, aún así. Okay, now the next one. The next one is very common. It's a very common connector. We have two different types, though and although. And you're going to ask me, I know many of you think, what is the difference between though and although? The difference is that though is more informal, but they mean exactly the same. And although is more formal. So if you're writing, for example, an essay, you are going to use although. And if you're just talking, you're going to use though, because it's much more colloquial speech. Now, let's see an example. So, though means despite the fact that, aunque, despite the fact that. So, for example, although the sun was shining, it wasn't that warm. Although the sun was shining, it wasn't that warm. Aunque el sol brillaba, no hacía tanto calor, okay? Another example. Yeah, Shiham is asking, even so, this end in, yes, even though, for example, yeah, even though, I can translate, even though it's more like aunque, even so it's more aún así. Okay, there's more nuances, matices. It's a very slight difference. For example, even though she was a good cook, the cake she made yesterday was not too good. Okay, even though, aunque. Even though it's more like aunque, and even so, aún así. Okay, slight difference. Let's go back to where we were, that it was, though and although. I was saying and repeat, though is more informal and although is more formal, okay? Now the next one, otherwise. This is a good one. Otherwise, Does anybody know the meaning of this or how to use it? I wonder, because many times in my classes, not many people know how to use otherwise. Otherwise, de otra manera. Let's see an example so it's easier. Well, otherwise means in circumstances different from those present or considered. Okay, something that is different from the present. Please, for example, this is an example that we can use now. Please respect social distancing. Otherwise, we are going to be fined. To be fined means ser multados, no? So please respect social distancing. Otherwise, we are going to be fined. So, por favor, respetar la distancia social. Si no, we can translate it here as si no, nos van a multar. De otra manera, okay? So, it also can be translated as si no. This is a funny meaning. So you have to, because many times you look it up at the dictionary and you see same meaning, and say, how can I use it? What is the difference? Well, try to learn the sentences because then you're sure that it's right, no? Okay, now we have a very popular one. Despite and in spite of. Okay, here, first thing I should say is despite doesn't have of. Okay, despite is without of. So that's the main difference between these two. And they mean exactly the same, a pesar de. And you can use any of them. They have exactly the same meaning, despite. For example, despite the rain, I went out. What is the difference with the other? We saw a pesar. Also, we said that nevertheless was a pesar. Despite is used usually with nouns, despite and in spite. Let me see the uses. We're going to check the uses. We can use it with nouns, a gerund, so ending in ing form, or a pronoun. For example, I never got tired in spite of all the setbacks, inconvenientes, setbacks. So, nunca me cansé a pesar de todos los inconvenientes. That setbacks is a noun, un sustantivo, no? Another example, like I was saying before, in spite of the pain, now the of goes, after of we have the pain, which is a noun. In spite of the pain in his leg, he completed the marathon, okay? Despite having a headache, another noun, I had a great birthday. Or the train was canceled. In spite of that, we arrived on time, okay? Let me see if I have here a question. Okay, here we have one from Maria. This is very good. I had to cook for my family. Okay, I had to cook for my family. Otherwise, we wouldn't have, this is in past tense, so we wouldn't have had anything to eat or something like that, no? We wouldn't have, is the third conditional. So we wouldn't have had anything to eat. If I hadn't cooked for my family, well, I had to cook for my family, otherwise we wouldn't have had anything to eat. Have had. So this is the past conditional. So it's a small nuance. Okay, you're right, yes. Okay, let's go back to otherwise, despite. I have another one here, while, mientras, okay? While, this is exactly the same as in Spanish, so there's not too much chance of getting this mixed up. For example, while means despite, as a connector, because also can have another use, is just for time, okay? In this case, as a connector of contrast, the meaning is despite the fact, o sea, como a pesar de este hecho. For example, he gets 50,000 pounds a year, while, and in Spanish, the best translation would be mientras que, okay? So with the que, he gets 50,000 pounds a year, while I get only 20,000 pounds, for example. That is the comparison between these two. It's a contrast. So él gana 50,000 libras al año, mientras que yo solo 20,000. Okay, that's an example. And then the last one, I like this one, whereas. For me, it's a nice connector. It's a very nice connector. Whereas it's very similar to while. What is the difference? That I think for me, the best is to translate it as considerando que, okay? Because otherwise we get the same meaning, no? Mientras que. Well, it depends on the context and the context. Let's check one example, no? So, whereas is compared with the fact that, for example, Elizabeth enjoys confrontation, whereas I prefer a quiet life. So that is a contrast. This I'm comparing two things, no? So there's not too much difference between while and whereas, actually. Okay, I think this is going to be a very short broadcast because I don't have my friend Craig with me, and I don't really know. This is a mystery for me. What happened to him? I would like to know. So if you don't have any questions, I'm not seeing any questions. So I can just say goodbye to you and thank you for coming, okay, and asking questions and being interested in this Facebook Live. And I don't know. I don't see that you have any more comments, and I can end the broadcast. So okay, bye. See you next week. Same place, not same place, because the next week is in Mansión del Inglés, but same time. Okay? So bye.